In the heart of a bustling city, where skyscrapers pierced the sky and cars honked endlessly, there stood an old, unremarkable building called the Grand Haven Hotel. It wasn't grand by any stretch of the imagination. Its walls were faded, its carpets worn thin, and its elevator groaned so loudly that guests often opted for the stairs instead. But despite its flaws, it served as a temporary home for travelers who couldn't afford anything fancier. One chilly evening, just as the sun dipped below the horizon, a man walked into the lobby. He was tall but not particularly striking. His clothes were neat but clearly second-hand. His jacket had patches on the elbows, his shoes were scuffed, and his suitcase looked like it had been dragged across continents. The receptionist behind the counter barely glanced up when he approached. Her name was Sarah, and she was used to dealing with all kinds of people at this hotel. To her, this man seemed like just another drifter looking for a cheap place to sleep. "Yarum, for one night," the man said in a calm voice. There was no accent, no hint of nervousness or arrogance, just plain simple words. Sarah stifled a sigh. She didn't mean to judge, but years of working at the Grand Haven had made her skeptical of strangers. Most of them either argued over prices or tried to haggle their way into discounts. So, without even looking at him properly, she rattled off the rate. "It's $80 per night, cash or card." To her surprise, the man didn't flinch. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a wad of cash and placed it on the counter without counting it. "Top floor, please," he added quietly. Sarah blinked. This wasn't how things usually went. Most guests asked about cheaper options or complained about the price. But this man? He didn't seem to care. Still, she processed the payment quickly, handed him a key card and pointed toward the elevator. As he turned to leave, dragging his battered suitcase behind him, one of the bellhops leaned over and whispered loud enough for everyone nearby to hear, "He doesn't look like he belongs here." The comment earned a few chuckles from the staff, but the man didn't react. He simply smiled faintly, almost as if he found the whole situation amusing, and disappeared into the elevator. That night, whispers filled the hotel corridors. The employees couldn't stop talking about the mysterious guest. Who was he? Why did he choose such a rundown place? And why did he pay in cash without asking questions? Some thought he might be hiding from something, maybe debt collectors or the law. Others speculated that he was some kind of con artist, scouting the hotel for weaknesses before pulling off a scam. No matter what they guessed, though, none of them could have imagined what would happen next. The next morning, the man reappeared briefly in the lobby. He grabbed a cup of coffee from the cafe and retreated to his room. For the rest of the day, he stayed out of sight, leaving only to take short walks around the block. By dinner time, most of the staff had forgotten about him entirely. After all strange guests came and went at the Grand Haven, it was part of the job. But then something unusual happened. Late that evening, the air conditioning system broke down. It was a common problem at the hotel, especially during heat waves. Guests began complaining almost immediately, sweltering in their rooms and demanding refunds. The maintenance crew worked frantically to fix the issue, but nothing seemed to work. Frustrated and sweaty, they gathered in the basement debating whether to call an expensive repair service. That's when the mysterious guest appeared. No one saw him enter the room, but suddenly, he was standing there, leaning casually against the wall. "You know," he said in the same calm tone he'd used the night before, "the compressor unit on the roof might be the issue. Have you checked it?" The head of the maintenance team, a gruff man named Joe, frowned. "We don't have time to check every little thing," he snapped. "Besides, we're not experts," the guest shrugged. "Just a suggestion might save you some trouble." Joe hesitated. They'd already tried everything else, and calling a professional would cost the hotel hundreds of dollars, a sum they couldn't afford. Finally, he muttered, "Fine, let's give it a shot." To everyone's astonishment, the man was right. When they climbed onto the roof and inspected the compressor, they found a loose wire that had caused the entire system to malfunction. Within minutes, the AC roared back to life, cooling the hotel and silencing the angry guests. Word spread quickly among the staff. How had this stranger known exactly what to do? Was he some kind of engineer? A former technician? Or just someone with uncanny luck? Over the next few days, more oddities surfaced. For instance, there was Mrs. Thompson, an elderly woman who had been staying at the Grand Haven for years. She was known for her complaints about the noise, the food, the cleanliness, you name it. Nothing satisfied her. One afternoon, the mysterious guest knocked on her door. No one knows what they talked about, but after that visit, Mrs. Thompson stopped complaining altogether. In fact, she started praising the hotel to anyone who would listen. Then there was the incident with the leaky pipe in room 204. A plumber quoted the hotel $500 to fix it, which was far beyond their budget. Desperate, the manager mentioned the problem to the guest during breakfast. Without hesitation, the man offered to take a look. Using tools borrowed from the maintenance closet, he patched up the pipe in under an hour. Problem solved, for free. Despite these strange occurrences, most of the staff still dismissed him as irrelevant. Sure, he was helpful, but that didn't change the fact that he looked like someone who belonged in a bus station rather than a hotel room. That is, until the day he walked into the manager's office. Mr. Peterson, the hotel manager, was a short-tempered man who prided himself on being tough. When the guest entered unannounced, Peterson barked, "What do you want?" The man placed a folder on the desk and said calmly, "I'm interested in buying this property." Peterson laughed so hard he nearly fell out of his chair. "You? Buy this hotel? With what money?" Without saying a word, the man slid the folder toward him. Inside were documents detailing multiple real estate investments, bank statements showing staggering sums of money, and plans for renovating the entire building. Peterson's jaw dropped. This nobody wasn't just wealthy, he was obscenely rich. As news of the man's intentions spread, the staff couldn't believe their ears. Could it really be true? Was this quiet, unassuming guest planning to transform their crumbling hotel into something spectacular? Only time would tell. But one thing was certain: the mysterious man had already begun changing their lives in ways they never expected. The mysterious guest's offer to buy the Grand Haven Hotel sent shockwaves through the staff. For days, rumors swirled like a storm. Some employees refused to believe it. "There's no way he's serious," muttered Sarah, the receptionist, as she typed up invoices at her desk. Others, however, were intrigued. Joe, the head of maintenance, scratched his chin thoughtfully. He fixed the AC and patched that pipe for free. Maybe he is loaded. Despite their doubts, Mr. Peterson, the hotel manager, couldn't ignore the evidence. The documents the man had shown him were real. Bank statements revealed millions in various accounts. Property deeds listed buildings across the country, and investment portfolios hinted at a fortune too large to comprehend. Still, Peterson couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. Who was this guy? Why would someone with so much money stay in a dump like the Grand Haven? And why would he want to buy it? But questions aside, Peterson knew an opportunity when he saw one. The hotel was drowning in debt, and repairs were piling up faster than they could afford them. If this man, whose name they still didn't know, was willing to take the place off his hands, then maybe it was worth considering. Over the next week, the mysterious guest became even more involved in the hotel's daily operations. He didn't announce himself or demand attention. Instead, he quietly inserted himself into conversations and offered solutions whenever problems arose. For instance, there was the issue with Mrs. Thompson, the elderly woman who had stopped complaining after his visit. One evening, while Sarah was checking guests in at the front desk, Mrs. Thompson approached her with a smile. "I must say your service has improved dramatically," she said warmly. "Whoever is running things now deserves a raise." Sarah blinked in confusion. "Running things? What do you mean?" Mrs. Thompson gestured vaguely toward the elevators. "That nice gentleman on the top floor. He spoke to me about some concerns I had, and everything feels better now." Before Sarah could ask more, Mrs. Thompson shuffled away, humming happily to herself. Then there was the matter of the noisy plumbing in room 302. A guest had complained repeatedly about strange banging sounds coming from the pipes late at night. The maintenance team had inspected the room multiple times but found nothing wrong. Frustrated, they mentioned the problem to the mysterious guest during breakfast. Without hesitation, He offered to investigate. Later that evening, he returned with a small toolkit and spent nearly 2 hours tinkering with the pipes. When he finished, the noise vanished completely. No one understood how he'd done it, but the grateful guest left a glowing review online, praising the hotel's exceptional staff. These incidents only fueled the growing curiosity among the employees. Who was this man? How did he know so much about fixing things? And why did he keep helping without asking for anything in return? Finally, the day came when the mysterious guest decided to reveal more about himself. Standing in the lobby, surrounded by skeptical employees, he cleared his throat and addressed the group. "My name is Jonathan Reed," he began. His voice was calm and steady, commanding attention without raising its tone. "I know many of you doubted me when I arrived, and I understand why. But now, we have an opportunity to make this hotel something special." He went on to explain his vision. He wanted to renovate every corner of the Grand Haven, turning it into a luxury destination that rivaled the best hotels in the city. New carpets, fresh paint, modern furniture. He described it all with such enthusiasm that even the most cynical employees felt a spark of hope. "But here's the important part," Jonathan continued. "I don't plan to bring in outsiders to do this work. You've been running this hotel for years and you know it better than anyone else. Together, we can transform it into something extraordinary." His words struck a chord. For the first time in ages, the staff felt valued. They weren't just low-wage workers anymore, they were partners in a grand project. Still, not everyone was convinced. Mr. Peterson, for one, remained wary. He pulled Jonathan aside later that afternoon and confronted him directly. "Look, I appreciate what you're trying to do, but let's be honest. You don't need us. You could hire professionals to handle everything. So why are you bothering with us?" Jonathan smiled faintly. "Because people matter," he replied. "This hotel isn't just bricks and mortar. It's a community, and if I want to build something lasting, I need to start with the people who've kept it alive all these years." Peterson opened his mouth to argue but closed it again. There was something genuine about Jonathan's words, something that made him pause. Reluctantly, he nodded. "All right, let's see where this goes." As the weeks passed, Jonathan threw himself into the renovation process. He worked tirelessly alongside the staff, rolling up his sleeves and getting his hands dirty. He helped carry furniture, supervised construction crews, and even painted walls when needed. Slowly but surely, the Grand Haven began to change. The old threadbare carpets were replaced with plush new ones. The faded wallpaper gave way to sleek, modern designs. Even the ancient elevator received a complete overhaul, emerging shiny and silent. Guests who had once avoided the hotel started returning, amazed by the improvements. But the transformation wasn't just physical, it was emotional too. The staff, once downtrodden and disengaged, found themselves energized by the project. Sarah, the receptionist who had initially judged Jonathan harshly, admitted to herself that she had misjudged him. "He's not just rich," she told a coworker during lunch. "He actually cares." Joe, the maintenance head, nodded in agreement. "Yeah, and he knows what he's doing. I've never seen anyone work harder than him, not even us." Even Mr. Peterson softened over time. Though he still grumbled occasionally, he couldn't deny that Jonathan had brought life back to the hotel. Bookings increased, complaints decreased, and morale soared. One evening, as the sun set over the city, Jonathan stood on the rooftop overlooking the skyline. The renovations were nearing completion, and the Grand Haven was almost unrecognizable. Below him, the streets buzzed with activity, cars honking and pedestrians rushing home. For a moment, he allowed himself to reflect on how far they'd come. Behind him, Sarah approached hesitantly.
"Mr. Reed," she said softly. Jonathan turned, smiling. "Yes, Sarah?" "I just wanted to say, thank you," she said, her cheeks flushing slightly. "You've changed everything. For the hotel, for the staff, for everyone. We wouldn't
be here without you." Jonathan chuckled. "Don't thank me yet, we still have a lot of work to do. But I'm glad you're seeing the potential. That's what matters most." As Sarah walked away, Jonathan gazed back at the city lights. He knew the journey wasn't over. In fact, it was only beginning. But for the first time in a long while, he felt a sense of purpose. This wasn't just about fixing a hotel, it was about rebuilding lives, and that, he realized, was the greatest reward of all. The Grand Haven Hotel was no longer the same place it had been just a few months earlier. What was once a crumbling, forgotten building in the heart of the city was now buzzing with energy and purpose. Jonathan Reed's vision for the hotel wasn't just about making it look better. It was about creating something meaningful. Every decision he made reflected that goal, from the smallest details to the biggest changes. By now, everyone knew his name. No one called him the mysterious guest anymore. He had become a central figure in their lives, not just as an owner, but as a leader who inspired trust and respect. The staff, who had initially dismissed him as an outsider, now looked at him with admiration. Even Mr. Peterson, the grumpy manager who had doubted him from the start, couldn't help but admit that Jonathan had brought a sense of hope to the team. The renovations continued at a steady pace, and Jonathan involved the staff every step of the way. He didn't hire expensive consultants or bring in flashy architects from other cities. Instead, he relied on the people who already worked there, the people who knew the hotel inside and out. For example, when it came time to redesign the lobby, Jonathan asked Sarah, the receptionist, for her input. "You're the first person guests see when they walk in," he told her. "What would make this space feel welcoming?" At first, Sarah hesitated. She wasn't used to being asked for her opinion, especially by someone as important as the owner. But Jonathan encouraged her, saying, "Your ideas matter. This is your home, too." With newfound confidence, Sarah suggested adding plants to brighten up the space and replacing the old, uncomfortable chairs with cozy seating areas where guests could relax. When the changes were implemented, the lobby transformed into a warm, inviting area that guests immediately loved. Similarly, Jonathan turned to Joe, the head of maintenance, for advice on upgrading the rooms. "What do you think causes the most complaints?" he asked. Joe didn't hesitate. "The bathrooms, the tiles are cracked, the faucets leak, and the showers barely have any water pressure." Jonathan nodded thoughtfully. "Then let's fix them first." Under Jonathan's guidance, the team replaced the outdated plumbing, installed modern fixtures, and added luxurious touches like rainfall shower heads and heated towel racks. Guests began raving about the improvements online, leaving glowing reviews that boosted the hotel's reputation. But Jonathan's impact went beyond physical upgrades. He also focused on improving the morale of the staff. For years, many of them had felt undervalued and overworked. They saw themselves as cogs in a machine, replaceable and unimportant. Jonathan changed that perception completely. He started holding regular meetings where employees could voice their concerns and share their ideas. At first, only a few spoke up, hesitant to believe their opinions truly mattered. But as Jonathan listened intently and acted on their suggestions, more and more people began participating. One day, during one of these meetings, a housekeeper named Maria stood up nervously. "I've been thinking," she said, glancing around the room. "We get a lot of families staying here, but we don't really have anything for kids to do. Maybe we could set up a play area in the lobby." Jonathan smiled warmly. "That's a fantastic idea, Maria. Let's make it happen." Within weeks, a small corner of the lobby was converted into a colorful play zone with toys, books, and beanbags. Parents loved it, and children couldn't stop talking about how fun their stay was. It became one of the hotel's standout features, all thanks to Maria's suggestion. As the renovations progressed, Jonathan introduced another initiative that surprised everyone: community involvement. He believed that the Grand Haven should be more than just a business. It should give back to the neighborhood that had supported it for so long. To achieve this, he partnered with local businesses to source materials for the renovations. Carpets came from a nearby textile factory. Furniture was crafted by a family-owned woodworking shop, and artwork adorning the walls was created by struggling artists from the community. He also hired residents to fill new positions at the hotel. Many of them had never worked in hospitality before, but Jonathan provided training programs to teach them the skills they needed. These efforts not only helped revitalize the hotel, but also strengthened its ties to the surrounding area. Even longtime guests noticed the difference. Mrs. Thompson, the elderly woman who had once complained endlessly, often remarked on how much warmer and friendlier the atmosphere felt. "It's like coming home," she said one evening while chatting with Sarah. "Everyone here genuinely cares." Despite all the progress, challenges still arose. Not everyone was thrilled about the changes. Some longtime employees worried that the hotel's transformation would alienate its original clientele, travelers looking for affordable accommodations. Others feared that Jonathan's ambitious plans might fail, leaving them worse off than before. Jonathan understood their concerns and addressed them openly. During one of the staff meetings, he said, "Change can be scary, I know. But remember, our goal isn't to erase what made the Grand Haven special. It's to build on it, to create something that honors its past while embracing the future. We'll always welcome those who need a place to stay, regardless of their budget." 2. Prove his point. He introduced a program offering discounted rates for seniors, students, and low-income travelers. These guests were given the same level of care and attention as anyone else, ensuring that the hotel remained accessible to all. By the end of the third month, the Grand Haven was almost unrecognizable. Its faded exterior had been repainted in soft, elegant tones. The lobby gleamed with polished floors and vibrant decor. Each room was a blend of comfort and luxury, designed to make guests feel pampered yet at ease. Even the rooftop, once a neglected space filled with rusted equipment, had been transformed into a serene lounge area with breathtaking views of the city skyline. The staff took immense pride in what they had accomplished. They weren't just employees anymore. They were part of something bigger. Their hard work had turned a rundown hotel into a beacon of hope and renewal. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Jonathan gathered the team on the rooftop to celebrate their progress. Holding up a glass of sparkling water, he said, "This is your victory as much as it is mine. You've poured your hearts into this project, and I couldn't be prouder of what we've achieved together." Applause erupted, and cheers echoed across the rooftop. For the first time in years, the staff felt truly valued, not just as workers, but as individuals who had contributed to something extraordinary. As the celebration wound down, Sarah approached Jonathan with a shy smile. "Mr. Reed, I wanted to say, you've changed everything. Not just the hotel, but us too." Jonathan chuckled softly. "No, Sarah, you've changed yourselves. I just gave you the tools and the opportunity. The rest was all you." She nodded, tears glistening in her eyes. In that moment, she realized that Jonathan wasn't just rebuilding a hotel. He was rebuilding lives. And that was a legacy worth celebrating. The journey was far from over, but the foundation had been laid. With each passing day, the Grand Haven moved closer to becoming the haven Jonathan had envisioned, a place where people felt welcomed, valued, and inspired. The Grand Haven Hotel, now nearing the final stages of its transformation, stood as a testament to what determination and teamwork could achieve. What was once an eyesore in the cityscape had become a shining jewel, drawing attention from locals and tourists alike. The renovations were complete, the staff was energized, and the hotel's reputation was soaring. But Jonathan Reed wasn't done yet. He had one more step to take, reintroducing the hotel to the world under a new identity. The reopening ceremony was set for a crisp autumn morning. Jonathan had chosen the date carefully, ensuring it coincided with a major travel expo happening in the city. Flyers and advertisements flooded social media, billboards, and local newspapers, teasing the grand unveiling of the Haven Royale. Gone was the name the Grand Haven, replaced by something that reflected the hotel's elevated status. The tagline read, "Luxury redefined, hospitality reinvented." On the day of the event, excitement buzzed through the air. Guests, dressed in their finest outfits, arrived in droves, eager to see what the fuss was about. Reporters from lifestyle magazines and travel blogs mingled with influencers and celebrities invited to experience the hotel firsthand. Inside, the lobby sparkled with golden accents, fresh flowers, and soft lighting. A live jazz band played, soothing melodies while waiters circulated with trays of champagne and hors d'oeuvres. Sarah, the receptionist who had once doubted Jonathan, greeted guests at the entrance with a radiant smile. She wore a sleek uniform designed specifically for the occasion, a blend of elegance and professionalism. As she handed out welcome packets, she couldn't help but feel a swell of pride. This wasn't just a hotel anymore. It was a destination. Jonathan himself made an appearance during the ribbon-cutting ceremony. Standing on a small stage adorned with floral arrangements, he addressed the crowd. His voice carried warmth and gratitude as he spoke. Today marks the beginning of a new chapter, not just for this building, but for everyone who has poured their heart into making it what it is. We didn't just renovate walls and floors, we built a community, and I want to thank each and every one of you for being part of this journey. Applause erupted, and cameras flashed as Jonathan cut the ribbon with oversized scissors. Cheers filled the room as balloons cascaded down from the ceiling, signaling the official opening of the Haven Royale. As the days turned into weeks, bookings poured in faster than anyone expected. Celebrities checked in for private stays, business executives booked conference rooms, and tourists flocked to enjoy the luxurious amenities. Online reviews praised everything from the plush bedding to the attentive service. One guest wrote, "This isn't just a hotel. It's an experience. Every detail feels thoughtfully crafted, and the staff goes above and beyond to make you feel special." But Jonathan didn't let success go to his head. He continued working alongside the team, ensuring that every guest left happy. During busy shifts, he could often be found helping carry luggage or assisting with check-ins if the front desk got overwhelmed. To him, leadership wasn't about standing apart. It was about rolling up your sleeves and getting involved. One evening, as Sarah wrapped up her shift, she noticed Jonathan sitting alone in the cafe area, sipping coffee and reviewing documents. Curious, she approached him. "Mr. Reed?" He looked up and smiled. "Yes, Sarah? I've been meaning to ask. Why do you still stay so hands-on? You own this place now. You could hire people to handle all of this." Jonathan chuckled, softly. "Because I believe in leading by example. If I expect others to work hard, then I need to show them that I'm willing to do the same. Besides..." He paused, glancing around the bustling lobby. "This place means something to me. It's not just a business. It's proof that when people come together, they can create something extraordinary." Sarah nodded, understanding dawning on her face. Jonathan wasn't just running a hotel. He was nurturing a legacy. Despite the newfound fame and success, Jonathan remained committed to giving back to the community. He expanded the outreach programs, partnering with local charities to host fundraising events at the hotel. For instance, he organized a gala night where proceeds went toward building a new playground for underprivileged children in the neighborhood. Guests loved the idea, and many donated generously after hearing Jonathan speak passionately about the cause. He also introduced a scholarship program for employees' children. Any staff member whose child excelled academically could apply for financial assistance to cover school fees or college tuition. When Maria, the housekeeper, learned that her daughter had been awarded a scholarship, she hugged Jonathan tightly, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you," she whispered. "You've changed our lives." Even Mr. Peterson, the formerly grumpy manager, found himself inspired by Jonathan's generosity. One afternoon, he pulled Jonathan aside and said, "I used to think you were crazy for involving the staff so much. But now I see, it's not just about running a hotel, it's about building a family." Jonathan grinned. "Exactly. That's what makes this place special." Of course, not everything went perfectly. There were moments of tension, especially as the hotel adjusted to its higher standards. Some guests complained about minor issues: slow Wi-Fi, slightly delayed room service. But Jonathan saw these challenges as opportunities to improve. He encouraged the staff to view feedback constructively, using it to refine their processes. For example, When a guest mentioned that the restaurant menu lacked variety, Jonathan worked with the chef to introduce new dishes inspired by international cuisines. The updated menu became a hit, earning rave reviews from food critics. Another time, a guest accidentally left behind a valuable piece of jewelry. The staff scrambled to locate it, eventually finding it tucked inside a sofa cushion. When the guest returned to retrieve it, they were so grateful that they wrote a glowing review online, praising the hotel's integrity and dedication. These incidents reinforced Jonathan's belief that excellence wasn't about perfection, it was about effort. By consistently striving to exceed expectations, the Haven Royale continued to rise above the competition. As months passed, Jonathan began stepping back from day-to-day operations. He trusted the team he had built to keep the hotel running smoothly, and he focused instead on expanding his vision. He purchased nearby properties, transforming them into affordable housing units for low-income families. He also invested in training programs to teach unemployed residents skills in hospitality and entrepreneurship. Though he spent less time at the hotel, his presence lingered. Employees often shared stories about how Jonathan had impacted their lives, whether through kind words, practical advice, or simple acts of kindness. One evening, as Jonathan sat on the rooftop lounge overlooking the city, Sarah joined him. "Do you ever miss the old days?" she asked. "What do you mean?" "When you first arrived here looking like nobody, do you miss being underestimated?" Jonathan laughed. "Not really. Being underestimated gave me a chance to prove people wrong. But honestly, I prefer where we are now. Look at this place, Sarah. Look at what we've built. That's worth more than any title or label." She nodded, gazing out at the glittering skyline. "You're right, and no matter what happens next, we'll always remember how far we've come." Jonathan smiled, raising his glass in a silent toast. The Haven Royale wasn't just a hotel. It was a symbol of resilience, collaboration, and hope. And as long as those values endured, its legacy would continue to inspire generations to come. Years passed, and the Haven Royale became a household name in the city. It wasn't just a hotel anymore, it was an institution, a symbol of transformation and excellence. Tourists recommended it to friends, business executives requested it for meetings, and locals boasted about its role in revitalizing the neighborhood. But behind the polished facade and glowing reviews lay a deeper story, a tale of redemption, resilience, and the power of believing in people. Jonathan Reed had long since stepped back from managing the hotel, leaving it in the capable hands of the team he had nurtured, yet his influence remained everywhere. From the warm smiles of the staff to the carefully curated details that made guests feel at home, Jonathan's vision lived on. The Haven Royale wasn't just successful because of its luxury, it thrived because it cared. One crisp winter morning, Sarah stood in the lobby, watching as employees bustled around preparing for another busy day. She still worked at the hotel, though her role had evolved over time. No longer just a receptionist, she now oversaw guest relations and training programs, ensuring that every new employee understood the values that made the Haven Royale special. She glanced toward the entrance, her eyes widened in surprise. Walking through the doors was none other than Jonathan Reed. He looked much the same as he always had, calm, unassuming, and quietly confident. But there was something different about him today. A sense of peace radiated from him, as if he had finally found what he'd been searching for all along. "Mr. Reed," Sarah exclaimed, rushing over to greet him. "It's been so long. What brings you here?" Jonathan smiled warmly. "Just checking in," he said simply. "I wanted to see how things are going." "How things are going?" Sarah laughed. "You've created a masterpiece. The Haven Royale is thriving, thanks to everything you taught us." He nodded thoughtfully. "I didn't create anything on my own. All I did was give people a chance to shine. You're the ones who made this place what it is." Sarah shook her head. "No, Mr. Reed. You gave us purpose. Before you came, we were just surviving. Now we're thriving, and not just financially, emotionally too. We believe in ourselves because you believed in us first." Jonathan's expression softened. That's all anyone ever needs. A little faith. Sometimes people need someone to remind them of their potential. Later that afternoon, Jonathan took a tour of the hotel, revisiting familiar spaces that held countless memories. The lobby, once drab and lifeless, now sparkled with energy. Guests lounged comfortably in seating areas, chatting and laughing as sunlight streamed through large windows. The cafe buzzed with activity, its menu showcasing dishes inspired by cultures from around the world. Upstairs, the rooms were immaculate, each one designed to provide comfort and elegance. Jonathan paused outside room 302, where the noisy plumbing issue had once baffled the maintenance team. Smiling faintly, he remembered how solving that problem had marked the beginning of a deeper connection with the staff. When he reached the rooftop lounge, he stopped to admire the view. The city skyline stretched endlessly before him, a testament to human ambition and progress. For a moment, he allowed himself to reflect on the journey that had brought him here. Behind him, footsteps approached. Turning, he saw Maria, the housekeeper whose daughter had received a scholarship years ago. Her face lit up when she recognized him. "Mr. Reed," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. "You came back." "I promised I would," he replied gently. "How's your daughter doing?" Maria beamed. "She graduated last year. Thanks to your help, she's working as a teacher now. I don't know how to thank you enough." "You already have," Jonathan said. "Seeing people succeed is the greatest reward." As evening fell, Jonathan gathered the staff for an impromptu meeting in the conference room. Though he no longer managed the hotel, everyone eagerly awaited his words. When he entered, the room erupted into applause, and he raised a hand to quiet them. "I won't keep you long," he began. "But I wanted to share something before I leave again. Over the years, many of you have asked me why I chose this hotel, why I invested so much time and effort into it. The truth is, I saw potential, not just in the building but in all of you. When I first arrived, I was looking for a fresh start. I didn't come here with grand plans or expectations. I simply wanted to make a difference, however small. What I found instead was a group of people who reminded me of the best qualities in humanity: hard work, resilience, and kindness. Together, we turned a crumbling structure into something extraordinary. But remember," he continued, his tone firm yet gentle, "success isn't measured by wealth or fame. It's measured by impact, by the lives you touch and the legacies you leave behind. This hotel will continue to thrive as long as you hold on to those values. Never stop believing in yourselves and in each other." The room fell silent, his words hanging in the air like a promise. Then slowly, applause broke out, growing louder until it filled the entire space. Afterward, as Jonathan prepared to leave, Sarah accompanied him to the entrance. "Will we see you again?" she asked hesitantly. He chuckled softly. "Who knows? Maybe. But even if I don't come back, know that this place will always be a part of me, just like all of you." With that, he stepped outside, disappearing into the bustling streets of the city. In the years that followed, stories about Jonathan Reed spread far and wide. Some called him a visionary, others a philanthropist. To the staff of the Haven Royale, he was simply a man who had believed in them when no one else did. Under their leadership, the hotel continued to flourish. New initiatives were introduced, including partnerships with environmental organizations to reduce waste and promote sustainability. The community programs expanded, offering free workshops and mentorship opportunities to residents. And yet, despite all the changes, the heart of the Haven Royale remained the same. It was a place where people felt valued, where dreams took flight, and where ordinary individuals achieved extraordinary things. Late one night, as Sarah locked up the hotel after a particularly busy shift, she paused to look around. The lobby was quiet now, bathed in soft lighting that highlighted its beauty. She thought about Jonathan's parting words and smiled. Success wasn't about money or recognition. It was about making a difference. And in that moment, Sarah knew they had done exactly that. The Haven Royale wasn't just a hotel. It was a legacy. A reminder that sometimes the most unlikely beginnings can lead to the most remarkable endings.